Okay, this project was done on the PE department, focusing on running mechanics for athletic performance. I did this within Maribyrnong Sports Academy, within their athlete development program. They asked me to identify something that was missing within their program to work towards. Through program reflection and review, I identified that students were incompetent in many basic movement patterns associated with field-based sports. This included running technique and change of direction patterns. My resolution to these students was a 10-week physical education project designed at speed and agility. The aim of this project was to develop the physical and perceptual components involved in advancing one's speed and agility for football or soccer. Now, why was this specific group chosen? I chose 16 students that I already had pre-built relationships with to help the ICT development. Sporting variables reduced, so the one sport allowed me to understand all the movement patterns within the sport and not have to change my teaching towards this. There was a diverse student set, so different ages from Year 7 to Year 12, both male and female, and varied abilities. And this is the master plan I developed for the program. I just wanted to identify that we work towards ticking a number of boxes to start with, so straight line speed, teachings around centre of mass and athletic base, teachings around movement efficiency and leakage. Then we moved on to change of direction speed and onto perceptual and cognitive speed and change of direction speed. This is the breakdown a little bit closer of the master plan. I wanted to highlight to you that we went from a pre-test in week 1 all the way through to a post-test in week 9. Warm-up progressed from initial teachings all the way through to warm-ups that they were progressing themselves. Gradual ICT communication was used via 3 apps used on computer, phone and iPad. All Maribyrnong Sports Academy students required mobile devices as part of their uniform. The first tool was TMAP. It's a communication tool. They already used it at Maribyrnong Sports Academy. Worked with general admin, portraying key learning messages, posing questions to the students, setting learning tasks, and then receiving student input. And then this is the interface that we look at here, and this is just an idea of a key learning task that I set for the students. Huddle was a video analysis tool, provided access to the whole group, so the whole group could watch videos, but also provided private rooms for individualised analysis. This is what the Huddle interface looks like. We go into video, we can look at gameplay, or we can look at practice. From practice, we move into Class Dojo and how we assess the students. So Class Dojo is an app that allows both the teacher and the student to assess movement. Students are given points for showing competency. They're also deducted points for the inability to produce competence. And then this is what's shown up. So you see Amy has a -3 competence in her tasks, whereas Alana will have a +3 competence. Okay, so the learning was tried to be manipulated using different feedback types. I wondered how this associated to different learners, in being kinesthetic, visual or auditory learners, how age, gender or ability was associated to this also. So the visual learner, I applied video analysis tools. This used mental feedback, so my feedback as well as their personal feedback on their own movement. I also used professional and still visual representations to show learning points. This is the coach feedback, so points on energy leakage, points on balance and speed ladder. Then they'd have to do personal feedback on their own movement, so watching their videos and trying to identify certain points from the learning that's been undertaken in the previous weeks. This was another cue for the visual learners, this time in a still image, focusing on key points for centre of mass or posture, arms and legs for straight line speed, just to help those students that couldn't comprehend moving images. Okay, so for those students that didn't respond well to visual feedback, ICT was developed and manipulated to enhance their learning through auditory feedback or kinesthetic feedback. For the auditory learner, verbal cues were used, internal being focusing the student's attention to body movements associated with the skill. These were cues such as bend from your hips. We found that this often disrupted the students' movement patterns. Therefore, external cues were generally used. These were cues such as absorb the floor or explode towards the ceiling. These were aimed at the effect or outcome of the movement. Normal cues were also used. This was the absence of instruction or cues at all. We found that these students actually developed their own cues or instructions whilst doing the movement based on their past experiences. For the kinesthetic learner, ICT was developed to use rhythm exercises during the program. We provided movement tools such as steps and ladders to feel through the movement. And I also physically guided learners through complex movements, so I placed them in the positions that they were seeing themselves on in the video clips. This is how we highlighted learning visually. This is a testing scenario for movement efficiency and leakage. A number of key points that we needed to see for this student to be competent on Class Dojo. On the left we have the Year 7 students pre-test, and on the right the Year 7 students post-test, where he was found to be competent. Still image of the two. On the left we can see pre-test incompetence with external rotation at the knee and the ankle. There's not great enough dorsiflexion at the ankle. Foot placements are coming across the midline, so we've got hip coming outside the midline. And the knee drive is coming up, but it's not reaching a 90 degrees, so it's not coming up and out. On the right, where the Year 7 student responded well to visually, he became competent on Class Dojo. The knee is coming up high and creating a 90 degrees, so it's coming up and out. We've got nice dorsiflexion at the ankle, and biceps are glued to the ears to prevent thoracic rotation. Another visual representation, this is a Year 10 student that didn't respond well to visual cues. This student needed to be placed into a kinesthetic mode of teaching. So again, a number of key points here that we needed to see to be competent. On the left, he was incompetent. On the right, would have just scraped in with competency on Class Dojo. Again, a still image, straight upright body position. Foot placements are coming across the body, which means his knees come across the body and his arms come across the body. Arm drive is coming from the elbow, so we've got flexion and extension at the elbow, which means the shoulders aren't driving the arms. On the right here, we see a nice posture leaning forward. We've got better flexion at the elbow, which means we're coming shoulder drive for the arm movement. Foot placements are in line with the shoulders, so we see no movement across the midline with the knees or the arms. I also wanted to highlight some learning through peer leading and teaching. So weeks 6 to 9, the students run the sessions themselves, finding the correct positions and coaching and peer leading through the movements and exercises. You can hear they're creating their own rhythm and feedback with the exercises. The second one is again a warm-up exercise. As we spoke about before, creating rhythm through kinesthetic sense. The students here are running these exercises. Me as a future educator, just to summarise, I now understand the importance of differentiation in a PE setting. Initially I thought this was purely differentiating activities. Now I understand that I must differentiate the cues I use, the types of feedback I use, and also the equipment, not just the activities. In the future, I look to understand each of every one of my students, and hopefully, using clever ICT implementation, I can accommodate them in the attempt to fulfill their capabilities.